The dieting industry is a mess. I want to explain why wherever you turn there's conflicting information, why some experts and strategies recommend one thing and some seemingly completely the opposite. And if you have failed on a diet in the past, just know that it's not your fault. I've witnessed over the years, and as my time as an online fitness coach, the decline of the truth in exchange for attention. And that's the first point I want to jump into, is that we are in this day and age in the era of attention. Everyone is fighting for attention to fuel their personal brand, because nowadays with a strong personal brand, that's sponsors, business deals, brand deals, a million ways to monetize your following. And the reason this is an issue is because the things which get attention are ludicrous ideologies and usually controversial topics. This is of course at the detriment of someone who just wants to lose a bit of weight. And then they just get hit by every angle of all the things they should be doing, all the things they shouldn't be doing. And to be honest, it's just a little overwhelming. Take Eddie Abu, I hope I'm saying that right. His over-the-top personality, his crazy theories on insulin and demonization of carbs has earned him the following he has today. And from this, he earns about £27,000 per month from his online community, and then however much from his ebook sales. And oh look, discounted for today. Lucky me. On the other end of the spectrum, you have people like Dr. Lane Norton, a doctor in nutritional science, and he cites all of his knowledge on human randomized controlled trials. This is the knowledge which matters. There is a study for everything nowadays, and to be honest, if you want to get a certain result out of a study, you can steer it in that direction and kind of get what you want. Now, that doesn't mean to say that every single study you really can't trust, but the studies you can trust are
human randomized control trials.
Unfortunately, what he talks about, the true science about how to lose weight, and his debunking of certain dietary myths and claims that many of these people have, they don't get near enough the views that they should in comparison to that of someone like Eddie.
50-50. 50 ingredients and 50 ways to kill you. Shut the fuck up. Don't buy this fucking shit.
Now, this is a clear line in the sand drawn between the truth getting low attention and controversial topics getting high attention. It's the age-old saying of telling people what they want to hear, not what they should hear. And unfortunately, fast results with minimal effort seems to be the storyline of weight loss. Largely, I feel like this is the way the kind of world is right now, where we just want everything instantly. Everything is accessible. Like if you want food, you can have it delivered to your door within 30 minutes. You can sit in the comfort of your sofa and the sofa will recline at a click of a button. With the tap of your fingers, you can have thousands of TV programs and movies on demand. Obviously, these are obscure examples, but it just goes to show that like in our day and age that we live in, we don't really have any delayed gratification for anything. Everything is instant and it's now. And unfortunately, this mentality has followed through into like dieting, because everyone wants it fast and now with minimal resistance, whereas typically you know that dieting does take a while. And unfortunately, people don't like that hard truth, which then leads them down the garden path of looking for this next miracle method which comes up. But the biggest contributor to failed diets nowadays is the fact that if I was to tell the average person, how do you lose weight? What's the first step you would take? The majority of people would say you have to eat healthy. And I just wish that wasn't the case. The reason why we're seeing many of the confusion online is because people are getting the two things mixed up. Eating healthy and losing weight. So the line in the sand between these two have really been blurred. Many people combine the two and then that's where it causes the confusion. Let's have a very clear example. If I told you for the next week you're going to have one meal a day, that meal is going to be a singular sugary donut. You can have that one donut every single day for the next week. What do you think would happen at the end of that week? You can guarantee that you will lose weight because it's practically starvation. So we now know that, granted in this extreme example, it is the amount of food that you're eating that will influence weight gain or weight loss. The fact the donut is full of sugary carbs and it's just processed trash doesn't really mean anything. And just to point out, what I'm advocating is not that you shouldn't eat healthy. I think we should all do our part to try and make sure our diets have some healthy aspects to them in terms of, more fruit, more veg, less processed food. But if that is your barrier to losing weight and you don't like any healthy food, there is many people that just write off the fact of dieting just because of their food preferences. But this is why you never really hear any nutritionists kind of claim that, okay, you should just kind of monitor how much you're eating. It's always the underlying message of you should try to eat healthier and that's what will get you to lose weight. If you went to the vets and your dog was overweight and you got told, right, your dog needs to lose weight, you wouldn't just go straight down the dog food aisle and look for what's the healthiest option. You would simply reduce your dog's portion sizes. And what I've seen time and time again work is restrict your calorie intake to the best of your ability until you get down to a weight which is manageable, and then you can start making some healthy swaps or just overall trying to improve your diet along the way. And to make matters worse, podcasts have blown up by people just hosting these guests which have crazy ideologies, which the podcast hosts know that these people are going to get a lot of traction, a lot of controversy, a lot of clicks and engagement online to grow their personal brand, and then it just spreads this confusion amongst the internet. Diary of a CEO is pretty much number one culprit for this.
This calories in, calories out model doesn't work at all.
The calorie tells you absolutely nothing. Zero.
Exercise doesn't help weight loss.
No.
Cut the sugar.
Things, don't get obsessed with calories. Start thinking about eating your 30 plants a week.
The thing is, glucose has always been incredibly important to our health.
What we call high glycemic foods. Those are the foods that your insulin levels shoot up.
Cardio exercise, what most people think of as jogging or running at the gym, we see that it doesn't help for weight loss.
Get the insulin down.
If we just calorie restrict with nothing else, we will lose 25 to 50% of our weight as muscle.
Well, they think it's about calories.
Have we ever seen a calorie restriction diet work long term?
No.
Many of these experts are claiming studies which are not human randomized control trials, even lying about the studies that they're citing on here, just because they want to be the one that's come out with that miracle new weight loss method or so. The problem is people who have failed previously with their diet, such as counting calories, rather than draw a logical conclusion, they suddenly immediately resonate with their answers.
So cutting 500 calories a day, which has been the standard device, is very unsuccessful because if you don't change the hormonal system in your body, and different foods contain different hormonal instructions, your body could simply decide to burn 500 less and you will not lose body fat. So it's simply false to say if you cut 500 calories a day down, you'll lose a pound of body fat a week. It's actually not true in any way, shape, or form.
If you've done a calorie deficit diet of 500 calories and you've not lost weight and you listen to that advice, you'd probably suddenly be like, that's it. That's the reason I didn't lose weight. Claiming counting calories does not work and then subscribe to whatever he's going to spew out as the fix. And to be honest, what's more likely? You have defied the law of thermodynamics and are like a 1 in a million person who was in a deficit and didn't lose weight. Or you maybe was kind of against calorie counting and tried to do it just to kind of say to people it doesn't work. Or you was weighing yourself at different times, weighing yourself inconsistently, or your scales was faulty. There is so many reasons why it could be, but you hear that advice and you go, that's it, that's the one. Because you know what? That's an easy answer and it takes all the responsibility off your shoulders and onto something you can't control. Or you can control, you just have to maybe buy his book or something to find out. But anyway, the other underlying problem is that a lot of what these experts say is true. And this kind of has to be the fact because they would just have no leg to stand on and they would be on the podcast just kind of getting laughed at. The problem comes with their over-exaggeration on the disadvantages and negatives of what they're saying. A typical example of this when it comes to dieting is managing your insulin levels. And you get glucose spikes when you consume sugar, claiming that, the more spikes you're going to get, the more closer you're going to get to death. And it's just simply not the case. There are studies that back up, and it is true that when you consume carbs, especially sugar, your blood glucose levels spikes and then that releases insulin in your body. But guess what? Your body's really good at managing it. But unless you're stuffing your face with junk food and trash day in, day out, and you're consuming all this full fat Coke, the chances are you're going to have a lot of spikes and you may become insulin resistant. But you know what? You'll probably find out way before, because you'll be extremely overweight. For your average Joe that's just a little bit overweight, trying to blunt that curve of the blood glucose spike has really no health benefits. There is no evidence to back this up in human randomized controlled trials. There's even a study like here which showed that people in a calorie deficit, where they ate a balanced diet of proteins, fats and carbs, compared to a diet of the same calories but reduced carbs, we found that there was no weight gain or weight loss difference between the two groups. Yes, in the balanced diet group there was more insulin spikes. But like I said, unless you're onslaughting your body with it 24/7 of just an absolute terrible diet, you really got nothing to worry about. Let's take another trigger word that you've probably heard of, autophagy. This is obviously in the relation to fasting. As they say, when you're fasting, you know, these 36 or 72 hour fasts, that your body is like resetting itself. Begins the process of rapid autophagy, where your old dead cells are being replenished and flushed out. And yeah, that happens. There is studies to prove that when you're in a fasted state, autophagy increases and it cleans out the dead cells. But it's funny because these people who preach that really disregard the fact that that happens every single day. That happens when you sleep. And if you're in a general calorie restricted diet, just a normal calorie deficit, autophagy happens at the same rate as it would as if you was fasting. But that does not fit their agenda and they will never push it. So on one hand, there is truth to what they say, but on the other hand, they are blowing it out of proportion and fear-mongering in you to following their advice, subscribe to their way of dieting, and then that promotes their brand. They get a bigger following, you buy their books, talk about them. It is a snowball effect, all for their personal gain. So how can you protect yourself in this world of noise when it comes to dieting? Know the difference between dieting and healthy eating. They are two different things. If you're trying to lose weight, your goal should be to lose weight. Trying to eat healthy as well is great if you can manage it. Really try your best to increase your protein intake, reduce some of the junk and processed food that you're having, try to include a little bit more veg and whole foods in your diet. And look, I know for an absolute fact, in the comment section, I'm going to have people who have followed the advice of like Eddie or the glucose goddess, and they've had amazing success. They've lost a lot of weight. It's changed their life. And that is fine. I'm happy for you. So whatever method you find online, the key here is to find what works for you within dieting. Although you knew this was coming, the one thing everyone has to consider is sustainability. Restricting a whole food group in a diet is gonna be a recipe for disaster. You're gonna struggle, and as much as you might try and convince yourself that, oh, when I'm at my goal weight I'll be more disciplined and everything, no, you probably won't. And it's not that I lack faith in anyone individually, it's just the fact that when we restrict ourselves for so long without learning about the calorie content of the foods that we should be learning about, we likely will go overboard. And then slowly, as the days and the weeks go on, the weight comes back and back and back, and you lose faith, and then all of a sudden it's all over. As in, you've put a lot of weight on, not you've died or something. Let's face it, food is pleasure. I love food, you probably love food, we all love food, and we should enjoy it. Having the odd cake here and the odd meal out and you're having all 3 courses, that's what we should strive for. It is food freedom. I've maintained a healthy body weight for all of my 32 years, and that's because from an early age I learnt about calories, and I learnt about how much calories are in the food that I like. So when I go out for a meal, like this Sunday I'm going to go for a 3-course meal. It's going to be way over 1500 calories, but I'm okay with that. The day before I'll eat a little bit less, and the day after I'll eat a little bit less. Everything balances out. I'm going to enjoy my damn meal. And this is what I want you to get to. The stage in life where you're at a healthy weight and you don't have any restrictions with your diet and you can manage your diet happily. So if you want to lose weight effectively, not have any restrictions within your diet, then calories in versus calories out is the answer. But there is a big elephant in the room, and that's the fact that it sucks. It's boring, it's meticulous, and worst of all, it makes you take responsibility of what you're eating. That's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people. So I've devised a dieting method which should help. And don't worry, this isn't a course, this isn't a book. I'm not putting this behind a paywall like everyone else. I'm going to explain the full method and even give you the template to download below in the description, or you could just print screen the screen in the next slides. The 10 meal method is what I call it. And what you're going to do is create 10 meals that you enjoy. You can try to raise the protein content of these meals, and if you could add in some healthy alternatives here and there, then please do. You're going to split these meals into 4 sections: breakfast, lunch, dinner and snacks. Try to have about 2 to 3 meals in each section. If you don't have breakfast, just scribble it out and put meal 1. Now, the boring part. Calculate the calories of each meal with no meal exceeding 600 calories. And don't worry, this is the only time you're ever going to count calories. The only thing you have to refer to is the values of what you've got down. On any given day, you're to select 3 to 4 of these meals to consume. If it's a high energy day, like a really busy day at work, you're running around the house doing this and that, have 4 meals. If it's a very low activity day, you're not really doing much, just sitting there watching TV for most of the day and just enjoying life, have 3 meals. So as you can see in one of my breakfast meals, I'm going to have 2 slices of toast and 3 eggs. I know that's 480 calories and I don't ever have to weigh anything ever again. I just know that that's 2 toast, 3 eggs. Done. 480 calories. The reason I've made this method is to simplify calorie counting. We're not restricting anything in this diet. We're trying to do our bit to be a little bit more healthy, but we are focusing on that deficit without the meticulous effort of counting calories every day. The main thing is you'll be learning about your foods which you like in your diet. Foods you're going to eat once you're doing your diet and once you've completed your diet. Now, of course, if you've had your 10 meals as just junk food and trash and McDonald's fries, you'll soon realise that going up to 600 calories doesn't get you very far. This is where you might make alternative switches within your meals, add meals that are higher in protein or just generally more satiating foods which keep you fuller for longer. I hope this has opened your eyes into the dieting industry and made you manage it a little bit better. Just try not to register to a lot of this fear mongering that's going on. Just know that the best diet out there is the one that works for you. Lastly, remember this simple but effective quote: if you think you can or think you can't, both will be correct.